Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Marker and welcome to the blog hub. Today we're going to be creating a fun background with this beautiful custom stamp. It's Sending Love Your Way and it's from Things Crafted. They come in this really cool canvas bag and these are two of the other stamps. I'm going to be using that I Love You in the middle of the video. So let's go ahead and get started. We have some watercolor paper from Tim Holtz. And I just showed you the set that I took these little palettes of beautiful watercolors from. I selected what I wanted, I put them on my side. I have a wide brush and I'm going to get my paper wet here. You could even use a wider brush, which is faster. Now I like to take my brush and put a little drop in each color that I'm going to use so it'll be like moist and ready for me. So we're going to be using a variety of these greens and just move them kind of in a triangle pattern around on the watercolor paper, and then we'll be using water to smoosh them all together. So at some point I'm going to speed this up. I try and get my videos to like a 10-minute maximum so that you can watch other people's videos as well. So here we go. I'm onto this mint color and I'm again just kind of putting the colors like in a triangular so they're spread out evenly. I love this mint and a little bit of blue. This is a real pretty sky blue just to add a little bit of interest. Since this is the lightest color, it can get lost in the paper as well. So once it gets watered down, I might be adding more of that. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to continue around here. Now I'm just taking some of the water, slightly dirty, but I'm not worried about that. And I'm just dropping some of that water down between the lines to let that color run. Now I could have taped this down with painter's tape, but I decided, this was quickest. I'm just putting this together. I wanted to do a video. I didn't do any pre-planning. So this kind of, you're seeing my creative process here. And sometimes if it's faster, won't use tape. It might be easier, but it's quicker to not put it down. So this is kind of on the fly. Now see, I watered this down. I'm adding some more blue. I love this blue. So I wanted to add some more of that. And you'll see, since I didn't attach this down, the water pools on the edges of the paper. So I happen to have two canvas bags that are very similar to the bag that the stamps came in. The two canvas bags that I have are from SRM stickers. Sorry. I love their stickers and they sell these canvas totes. So since I didn't really plan this card, I don't have any paper towels handy, so I'm using one of these bags, and as it turns out, using it as scrap, it turned into something fun, which you'll see later in the video. Now I'm just working the water around. I've sped this up a little bit, adding a little more color, a little more water, a little more color. Just depends on how you like it. Once I'm satisfied here, I'll be drying the watercolors and then be adding some different color spatters. I'm lifting this up, I'm letting some of the water roll around, and where it pools on the bottom edges, I'm dabbing onto this canvas. The canvas is kind of treated so it doesn't absorb it really well, and I'm using the canvas to clean up some of my mess, this little canvas bag. And it's actually a great thing to have on hand because right here you can see the one on the left is what I blotted up. The bag on the right, as I was cleaning up, I'm like, hey, let me put some blue on this bag, and I stamped it just like I did the background. Now right here we're onto the ink splatter. The watercolor. So I really get this little palette really nice and wet, and then I just use my finger and tap the brush, and it gets beautiful little dots all over my background. I want to do this with this kind of apple green. So I have the dots. I've done it with the blue, which I missed on video, the mint green, the dark green, and then we're going to do a little bit of this army color. I love this here where it's white spray ink. I'm going to grab a box and I'm going to spray that on as the final thing on my background. Before I did this, I did heat set all of my watercolors. Sorry that I missed that on the video. So sometimes I run out of Kleenex, I use toilet paper, so I had some of this on hand, and I'm just blotting here on top to make sure that it's dry before I stamp. I'm using some of the Simon Says black ink. I love how it's just so black and bold. And I love this stamp that Britta designed for me. It's such fun, whimsical handwriting, and it's nice and big to fit on a 4x6 card. So I'm just centering that on my background, and I'm going to stamp away, which I know you all know how to do. And I'm giving it a little bit of time for the watercolor paper to absorb into that. And that's done. So either I could heat set it or whatever. Once that ink is dry, I'm using some glossy accents to put on this mint paper. It matches the one of the watercolors in the background. I love the Simon Says stamp cardstock. It's nice and thick and heavyweight, and it really is great for watercolor paper. Sometimes I move my watercolor paper around so it doesn't bend, or if it's bent, I can kind of bend it back to make it straighter. I'm putting a piece of scrap paper on top of this once I put my glossy accents on the back, and I like to stick it in a book so it'll dry nice and flat. So that is what I'm doing here. And then after a few minutes, I pull it out and I'm going to trim that paper. Now I decided I was going to use that die cut on the top of the card, which I love, but I felt after seeing how my background came out that this stamp set from Simon Says Stamp would be just perfect on this background. Just add a little bit of that extra special touch. So I'm inking this up with, I think it's Midnight Green, and just stamping on the background. In the stamp set there's pine cones for this particular fir tree evergreen, and then there's holly and holly berries, but I decided, who says that pine trees can't have holly, right? So I'm putting holly berries on my pine cone branch. I just wanted that pop of color and a smaller graphic dot versus a larger pine cone. So I'm using the Schoolhouse Red from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm just putting a few dots here and there. There's some nice clusters, different variation of clusters in the stamp set, which is really kind of cool. So I'm using the cluster, and then I'll be grabbing, there's like 2 or 3 holly berries together instead of a cluster. So it's really a nice mix. So I'm switching clusters here, and once I finish this, I'm going to be adding glossy accents to the berries. And I try and do a dab where it's the glossy accents is separated, so there's a little dot on each berry versus a clump of glossy accents. But sometimes it turns out, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm okay with that. So I'm just adding those. I use glossy accents as all my glue. I don't use any tape runners. I love how glossy accents dries fast and my cards never ever come apart. Once I finish this, I'm going to put this card base on some white cardstock and then do the blue on the inside to bring out the blue that was on the watercolor. That makes sense. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial, and at the end of this you'll see the 2 bags that I made again. Here's my holly up close, and the white dots really add a nice complement to the watercolor dots. And these bags were so much fun and so quick to pull together. So that is it. Have a great day.